So your dog has separation anxiety and you want to know why. Well, you, my friend, are shit out of luck. The scientific community has yet to put a finger on the exact causes of this disorder. What we have instead is a loose list of things that increase the odds of this problem appearing. But even if a dog were to check every single box on that list, they might still sleep all day when you leave the house. First, we'll start with things that are maybe, possibly associated. A higher rate of separation anxiety was observed in dogs that were bought from pet shops, in dogs that are heavily under-exercised, in dogs that were adopted and brought home at younger and younger ages. Big, sudden routine changes. New baby, going back to the office, moving without implementing any sort of transition plan for the dog. Trauma of any kind. And finally, we have things that are much more likely to be the reason for the onset of separation anxiety. Shelter dogs, for instance, are far more at risk, but I think there's a few factors that play here, and I want to get back to it in a sec. Another thing that is a huge risk factor for this problem is, with the utmost irony, a lack of owner presence and interaction. Yep, one of the most common pieces of advice for separation anxiety. Just give your dog less attention. When you give it so much attention and you let it follow you everywhere, that's when they become anxious when you leave because they don't know what to do. Is a great way to create or worsen a problem you're trying to solve or prevent. Which brings us back to shelter dogs. You're obviously more likely to see any behavioral issue in a shelter dog, even if the dog did not have any behavioral issues. Ending up in the shelter in and of itself is a traumatic experience for most dogs, and the shelter probably doesn't have enough volunteers or employees to give each individual dog as much attention as they would love to. But again, you could go and intentionally do everything I just mentioned, don't, and your dog might still be perfectly fine. And just because you might have done some of these things intentionally because you thought they were the right thing to do or because you didn't know better, doesn't mean you should feel bad or that your problem is entirely your fault. Some people do everything perfectly, and their dogs still develop major behavioral problems. Because two things are pretty much always true when it comes to dog training. Genetics are a bitch, and they matter way more than we ever want to give them credit for, and shit just happens. The good news is, no matter why your specific dog came to have that problem, the treatment doesn't really change. Now then, onto the tools and knowledge that you'll need to treat your dog's separation anxiety soon.